Hey gang, Rodin here. Welcome on back to the Cade in another episode of Sucker Punch Sunday, where we do a deep dive into a classic fighting or fighting platform-based game from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th generation. And for this week, we're going to go back a full 40 years now. Boy, that makes me feel old. To 1985, when I was all of 8 years old, and as a matter of fact. We're going to play a game that was one of the original launch titles for the Nintendo Entertainment System. And despite the many, many, many hundreds, if not thousands of hours I spent over the lifespan of the little gray juggernaut playing a myriad of games, this was never one of them. And part of it was because it was a game that at the time had a bit of an unwelcome reputation. We're going to play Ice Climber. Now, this game was originally released as an arcade game called Versus Ice Climber. And it was one of the tabletop games, many sorts of different cabinets that Nintendo released in the early to mid 80s. Now, a tabletop arcade game is one where you sit down and play it, and it looks like you're playing over a big table, hence why it's called a tabletop, as opposed to a conventional stand-up arcade cabinet. Now, how this game works is you are one of two players, and you can play this game cooperatively. The first one is Popo, who is the boy who wears the blue parka, and then the second one is a girl wearing a pink parka named Nana. Your only weapon is a big wooden mallet, and as you see here in the kind of the demo screen, your whole goal is to try and scale the mountain and avoid all these critters and all the obstacles by breaking the ice. If you hit an opponent, you die. And you get to the very end of the game if you can scale, I believe it's 11 mountains that make up all the levels. But each one is of varying heights. Each one will have different enemies, and each one will have different bonus stages once you reach the top. But it's funny because, you know, when I remember seeing this in the good old days of the Nintendo Player's Guide, I thought, how hard of a game could this be? And I don't know if it's going to be that hard or not. Again, I've never played it. But how it works is, so you will jump, and as you jump, you automatically swing the hammer. Or you can hit your A button and just swing at something that is coming at you. Now, these white guys you see here, I was always told these were baby seals. So, you heard me right. This is a game in which you get points and you garner success, in theory, by cubbing what we thought were baby seals over the head. Like I said, did not have the most stellar reputation at the time, circa 1985. Because who in their right mind would want their kid to play a video game in which they are bashing such helpless marine mammals? I wouldn't. I'm pretty sure my parents wouldn't if they had cared at the time. But this first level does not appear to be all that difficult because, again, it's level 1. It's going to be like when we played Donkey Kong a while back. Now, if you manage to bash one of them over the noggin, they will run away. If you touch one of them, then you don't make it. Whoop. And it's really easy to drop off of each level. So now we make it to the bonus stage. And what I want to do is I want to get all of these eggplant that are sitting here. And I didn't jump very far. But I get 300 points for each one I grab. I didn't bash any falling icicles. I got one bird. And I hit 35 blocks. So like most arcade ports, when you hit a certain score, you should get a bonus, or most likely you will get an extra life. You see at the top in the left-hand corner there, I have 3 little Eskimo heads. Which means I only have 3 lives available to me. Now, I will say out the gate that the controls on this are not that easy. Popo, while he can jump high, does not jump very far. Ouch, and I died. I missed hitting the icicle. So you see that they're pushing the ice back over, so what they're doing is they're filling in the ice on the level, and they're going to make it harder for me to be able to get up there. Now, I don't have a timer as far as I know. Oh, and he hit me again. So I'm still here. But now I've only got one guy left. And you can jump through something as small as one spot. So you gotta have a little bit of patience, you gotta have a little bit of coordination, and you have to have really good timing in this game. But I'm sure that a lot of people sitting here looking at me going, Ronan, how in the world could this have passed as a video game way back when? Well, if you think about it, and it's not one of those get off my lawn, I prefer it when it was a simpler time sort of deals, that's not it at all. But you have to bear in mind that 4 decades ago, and longer, coming up with stuff like this was a lot harder than it may seem. So I have 30 seconds to get through this level. Ah! I couldn't get over to the other carrot. So because of the technological limitations that were around at the time, like most gaming companies do nowadays, you still have to make do with what's available. Ah! And I jumped the wrong time. So we're going to have icicles dropping a heck of a lot more often, it appears. Go away, seal. I should say for the record that I have absolutely nothing against seals, by the way. I don't endorse the content of this game. I didn't make it. And like I said, I've never played it in 4 decades of gaming before until now. So I'd like to think I've earned myself at least a slight hall pass by not endorsing it. Alright, which way is this cloud going to come? There we go. Ah! Game over. So we can run out of time. So we only made it to level 2. Or level 3, rather. And that's as far as we got. So now let's see what we can do if we can go a little bit further. But because this is one of the early cooperative games, that was a pretty radical thing for home consoles. So we start back here. Alright, now we're in good shape. Ah, we're on a treadmill. But there are actually quite a few games that came out for the NES that had co-op components to it. One of the earliest ones, of course, was the original Mario Brothers, which was a couple years before Super Mario Brothers, which obviously completely revolutionized how kids played pretty much any sort of game. Whoa. Oh, I died. So I can't drop too far. There, we made it to the bonus stage. Ah! Except he still can't jump for squat. So the guy who created this game was named Kenji Miki. He helped also create NES Tournament Golf. And Ice Climber was the first game that was programmed by Kazuaki Morita. And it was considered to be like his litmus test if he could do Super Mario Brothers, the original one, of which he became the main programmer for that game. Ah! I fell on a seal. Now, the reception for this game is such that it was considered, in 1985, one of the most successful arcade cabinets of its time. And then the former president of Finland, whose name I will get to in a moment, and I apologize if I tend to come across as maybe butchering his name. That is not my intent. Mauno Koivisto was reportedly keen on Nintendo games, and his son-in-law reported that Ice Climber was his favorite game. Ah! Fell again. There we go. Just avoid the falling icicles. Alright, we made it up. No, we didn't. Thought I had it. Popo. I was right there. Oh, come on. But this is the other problem of playing original Series NES games, is that because the controls are so iffy, the margin for error is really small. There, finally got here. Ah, but I didn't get anything. In reviewing the American release of this game, Computer Entertainer magazine called it addictive for fans of climbing games, if not that there's a great many of them. And gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars. And in some ways, this is like a puzzle game, because you've got to be able to figure out how to knock out enough blocks that you can find ways to get in and get up. Oh, but I fell on him anyway. So it's game over. Now, the legacy of this game is that Popo and Nan apparently both appear in Super Smash Brothers. They appeared starting in 2001 Super Smash Bros. Melee, 2008's Brawl, and then returned for Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 3DS and the Wii U. And then themes from Ice Climber have been used in all sorts of Nintendo-based media and IP ever since. And then there have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 versions of this game that have been released over 4 decades. There was the original arcade version. There was the 1985 NES version that I'm playing. There was a secondary version that was released for the NEC PC by Hudson Soft. So it was for a home computer. There was the 1988 version Oh, get up there, Popo. Come on. Alright, got him. He's going to try and come back and fill that hole. And he's going to keep bringing more ice to fill that hole in. Alright, I got to find another way up. There, I took that seal out. And I mean, for the basic functions of this game, it's not super complicated. And that's part of the... Oh boy. So, I think I don't... Ah! Didn't want that. Okay, so there's a big boy that's over here. I mean, I like the simpleness of the mechanic, is what I was trying to get to before I died twice in consecutive goes. Ah, but I hit the icicle. But I made it to the bonus stage. No bonus. I got 3 eggplant. I didn't take out any icicles. I took out 1 bird, and I took out 18 bricks. But this is a game that kind of gets reinvented every decade or so on different Nintendo platforms. Somehow it speaks to the longevity of it, even though it was never considered one of the great NES games of its time, or of any time, really. Alright, so I can jump on these. Ah! Nope, I'm gone. But that they reissued it in 2002, in 2004 on the GBA, 2007 on the Wii, 2011 on the 3DS, 2013 on the Wii U, and 2018 on the Switch. I mean, Nintendo decides that they're going to put it back on their consoles. Yeah, every... Well, there was a gap of about 14 years between the Famicom Disk System version and the e-reader version in 2002. So you take those out, and it's been every 3 to 5 years we get a new version of Ice Climber. Now, will this ever be considered one of the great fighting games of all time? I doubt it. I mean, it's a fighting platform game, which again fits the criteria of this, which is why I wanted to try it. But there's also not a whole lot of fighting. Yes, I am bashing animules with my mallet in a most cruel and unscrupulous way. And you could make the argument that this game also does a bit of cultural appropriation in terms of misrepresenting Aleutian or First Nations or even what we traditionally refer to as Eskimo Nordic culture. I'm not saying that I necessarily disagree with that, nor am I saying that I agree with it. I'm just saying that people, if they wanted to make that argument, they certainly could. Ah! It's when you get to these speed blocks here that you get a little bit more trouble. All right, bird. No! Damn you, Popo. There we go. Alright, we make it to this bonus stage. Ah! And I still can't get anywhere. And obviously they can't do a ton to change up how each mountain is constituted because it's only got so much available space and available layouts that are programmed into the game. So if you're looking for something that has a super diverse array of levels and enemies and all that stuff, you're not going to find it here. The game is ultimately what it is. There's nothing to be done for it. Ah! Alright, I think I have to find a way to get through that really little window there. Before this condor comes back around. But this also could qualify for a one-day playthrough. I mean, this is a game that if we could... you could probably beat it in a couple hours. No! Well, that's game over. We're at 23 minutes anyway. So that, everybody, in a nutshell, is Ice Climber from 1985 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now, like I said, all right, let's look at it from a different approach. Question one, is it a good game? I mean, by any modern metric you want to apply to it, no. I mean, it is incredibly simplistic. And I was wrong. It has 24 sets of mountains in it. If you play 2 players, they add a second set. And after each one is cleared, it looks like you get a super bonus stage that occurs in which the player must reach a higher platform. So, you know, it is very much a product of its time, being the mid-'80s when video games were still new and really, really uncharted territory, and you could get away with just about anything, including a game, like I said, where you play a little Eskimo boy or girl, and part of your job is to get up a mountain and club little blue-billed seals on the head. Could you make a game like that today? That seems very much a rhetorical question. No, you couldn't. But yet, like I said, they keep revamping it and re-releasing it. Now, if you've ever played Ice Climber and you've played its multiple variations, let me know in the comments below. Let me know how it's evolved over its 40-year lifespan. You know, I like the fact that it is as much about puzzles and problem solving as it is about platforming and fighting. Now, despite its obvious drawbacks, I mean, this is a game that you could, and this was something that kids had to be aware of in the mid-'80s like it does now, is that a game your parents will let you play. I think if mom or dad finally get the full gist of the breadth of what you do in this game, they may have reservations about it. But at the time, you know, you're bonking things over the head with a mallet. It's not an overly violent game. It's not an overly gory game. It doesn't imply anything other than you just bop them on the head. That was enough for us 40 years ago. But it is repetitive. The controls are really, really stodgy. You can be trying to go one way, and if you miss by even a millimeter, you're going the other way, and you're missing out on everything that you are trying to get. I can't be sure if there is a time clock or not until you get to the bonus stage to the top. It gives you the implication there's not a time clock. But as you saw, I reached a certain point where the game ended. Because I couldn't get much further than I already was. So, you know, it does have its pros and cons. But honestly, part of the reason why I wanted to show it this week is because, one, it is a classic platforming game. And two, it is so different than just about anything I have ever seen before or since. Both from when I was a kid to now. That, you know, its uniqueness gives it that notoriety. And it's one that, despite its lack of spit and polish, and despite the fact that it has not aged well, it's a game that people played enough of. I mean, if it was good enough for the Prime Minister of Finland, it was good enough for somebody, or the President of Finland, I should say. So, again, if you have history with this game or this franchise, let me know. I'd be genuinely interested to get your feedback, because it was a game that I never played until this second. So, is it a game I'll play again? Probably not. But at least I finally gave it a try. I will write it off and call it good with that. So, that again is Suckerpunch Sunday for this week. If you've been enjoying the content, you know how to show up by now. Also, be sure to tune in to Sports Saturday and our ongoing and soon-to-be completed playthrough of Super Robot Wars Alpha Gaiden. We have new episodes of that come out every Monday and Wednesday, although we are hoping to get more of those out this week, as again, we're right on the doorstep of getting it done and in the can, and we're wanting to get it in the can because we want to get some other stuff up before we jump into our next playthrough, which, again, like we said, we've already picked it out. We already know what it's going to be. We just got to set the recording date, and that will be relative to when we get the rest of this playthrough done, and also bring back some one-day playthroughs and WTF Wednesday, because those have been languishing in the crate for a while. We want to blow the dust off and take a look at some of those for a bit, too. Be sure to follow us on social media through Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Everyone is RetroCade. Help spread the word about us as we continue to try and build this channel and make it bigger and better. Thank you, as always, to everybody who has subscribed, everybody who's tuned in, everybody who leaves their comments. We do not take your patronage for granted, and we are always trying to find ways to get you the stuff that you'd like to see. But in the meantime, my name is Ron. It's been great to spend this Sunday with you. Be safe, be well, happy gaming. We will talk to you tomorrow as we go back into the thick of the very end of Super Robot Wars Alpha Gaiden. Bye.